Oh, it changes on different days. There are there are nine. I think they all lead to the Pleiades. Well, he told us when he started to give additional information in the rays and the initiations about two additional paths. I didn't say they were new. Well, I think it's on page 412, something like that. Let's see. Oopsie. This is not good. Okay, let's try this again. The rays and the initiations. Okay, let's see. Let's get that out of the way. Let's try that again. And the rays and the initiations. Okay. And now, 412, let's see. Okay, there is here. The word has gone forth to our three great lords via the three Buddhas of activity to act in order to tighten up on requirements, to make the sixth initiation and not the fifth the decisive one, to present those on the seven rays with a wider range of choices and a greater diversity of choice. Thus the masters will have 9 choices to face when they face their decision. There will then be no need for those on certain rays to pass to already determined paths, but they can move forward under their own inspiration and with greater freedom. The cosmic mental plane is not barred to them, as has hitherto been the case. Well, actually, the cosmic mental plane is where a number of the paths do seem to end. So it seems that only the cosmic astral plane, according to DK, has been a possible destination, but we also have the possibility of the path of planetary logoi, the ray path, the path of absolute sonship. They all go to the cosmic mental plane, and the path that the solar logos is on, the path the logos is on, goes to the cosmic Buddhic plane. But anyway, here's what you have: 9 choices that now face the master making that decision. Now, I think what I need to do I think that's hard to say, but I think to a certain extent, yes, because they lead out of the solar system altogether. Well, that was the book Initiation Human and Solar, but like you said, there have been certain changes that have made the requirements tighter. And so the decision is now a 6-degree decision. All right, now I'm going to try to copy this down from 1267 to what? Path 4. Well, that was rays and initiations, but he's got a lot of information there on the cosmic paths as well. This is a long section. I don't know if we can finish it in the next 2 days. And even if we do finish it, what will we have understood? That's the question. Since when have we ever finished anything? The nature of the 7 cosmic paths. Okay, now I'm just going to copy this. And hopefully we can begin to work on it. Okay. And I'll make them relatively big so we can see. Okay. And 16, or maybe even 18. And make them black. Yes, a mere 36 pages, but in very big type. So the nature of the 7 cosmic paths. Okay. This is sort of the end of the story, you know. Because he's given us an ultimate destination and is trying to give us the incentive to work towards it. All right. The nature of the 7 cosmic paths. Now, really, there are 2 other places where this information is found, different in every place, and that is at the end of Initiation Human and Solar. Even there, he gave this incentive to go on. And then at the end of the last book, The Rays and the Initiations, where he gives very interesting additional and in-depth information about the cosmic paths. All right. So let us bravely begin this. It should be carefully borne in mind that when the term path is used, it is simply an energy term and a stream of energy. And streams of energy are indicated 7 streams which blend and merge to form one path, probably leading to the Pleiades. It should be noted that the adept who undergoes the discipline and who passes through initiatory rites, which will enable him to tread these 7 paths, has transcended color, as when we saw those 3 white flowers connected with Mercury, has transcended color, has passed beyond the veil, and that veil may be the cosmic physical plane altogether, and has expanded his consciousness so that he is at one with the conscious life of his planetary logos. The planetary logos becomes the initiator at a certain initiation. Do we know what it is? At a certain initiation, the planetary logos becomes the initiator. Do we know what that is? Okay, it is the 7th initiation. And before that, it is Sanat Kumara and some planetary existence who is not named at the 6th initiation. So he is at one with the conscious life of his planetary logos. He has therefore arrived at a stage incomprehensible to man now. He is passing out of the realm of substantial forms altogether into the realm of energy. So, off, I think, the cosmic physical plane. He knows the life of the 2 aspects, the soul and body, and is passing away from the realm of awareness altogether. Awareness is, let's call it, consciousness. This will sound to the average reader as a foolish jingling of words and a splitting of hairs. But he who reasons by the law of correspondences and who has grasped the basic, essential relativity of the three aspects to each other has arrived at the knowledge that back of all form is a subjective life which is known by its quality, its color, and its attributes. Now, which life is that? It could be the Solar Logos or something much more universal. He has expanded his consciousness until, gradually, he has ascertained and made a part of his own conscious ensemble those attributes and qualities of the one in whom he lives and moves and has his being. It won't work. The one in whom he lives and moves and has his being. But the pulsating dynamic vibration which is the producing cause of both the subjective life and its qualitative form is as yet to him the mystery of mysteries, the inevitable or ineffable secret. So is he talking about the planetary logos or solar logos? Probably. It becomes the goal of his endeavor as he sets foot upon one of the seven paths, which face him, in this case, after the fifth initiation, but the tightening up of requirements has made it related to the sixth. In other words, now we know who he's talking about. He's talking about the one about whom naught may be said. Because this great life is the life that is eventually reached on the 7 or 9 cosmic paths. If a master of the wisdom and the one who has unified both the manas, intellect, and wisdom, buddhi, knows not what shall be revealed to him as he treads the cosmic path which is his choice, surely it is needless for us to try and comprehend at our relatively low stage of evolution what is the true connotation of the word spirit, spirit monad. A master does not know what he shall confront. But DK does his best to describe some things. Pondering upon these matters is, for the average man, not only useless, but also dangerous. Does that include us? He has not yet the apparatus of thought necessary for its safe undertaking. It is as if one tried to force a child in the first grade in school to comprehend the differential calculus and the laws of trigonometry. So do we dare study this? But I assume that since we are motivated by higher learning, we are not in his category here of the average man. These 7 paths, when trodden, prepare a man to pass through certain cosmic initiations, including those upon the sun Sirius. Okay, Sirian initiations. One hint may here be given. Each of these paths eventually leads to one or other of 6 constellations, which with ours form the 7 centers in the body of the one about whom naught may be said. Well, 6 constellations plus our solar system, perhaps, 6 constellations, and the constellation of our local cosmic logos, in whom our sun plays the part of a heart center. See how tricky he is there. We don't know whether he means that the constellation, our constellation, is our solar system, or a group of 7 suns around our solar system. because that could be considered our constellation. Sirius, Procyon, Alpha Centauri, Beta Centauri, and so forth. Local stars being our local constellation, but we can't see it because we're too close to it. We're in the middle of a constellation. We're in the middle of 7 solar systems, of which ours is one. That's a constellation. Seen from the distance, it probably looks like something. Seen from the middle where we are, we don't know what kind of constellation we're in. Anyway, these paths lead to 6 constellations. Some have considered the Great Bear, Orion, Little Bear, Pleiades, and our own constellation. I've seen people interpret this as if our solar system is that constellation, and as if all of our planets are really stars. I think that although the people can justify to some extent why they do that, I think it's not the wisest approach. In other words, we do have a constellation. It's a local cosmic logos, and Nicholas and I have sometimes called it the Sirian system of 7 major suns. But it could have some different name. Those adepts who therefore, who stay for a prescribed length of time upon our planet are a correspondence to those greater initiates who remain for many kalpas within the solar system. So there are adepts who serve for a length of time on our planet, and those who are greater, who spend quite a bit of time in our solar system. Many kalpas, even. What is a kalpa? You know, a kalpa may be considered the life of a planetary logos, but it actually has a smaller meaning, I think, in this case. So anyway, there are adepts who stay on our planet for a long time, and there are greater initiates who remain for many kalpas in our solar system, and taking certain mysterious initiations concerned entirely with solar evolution. It's a limitation to stay with our planet, and it's a limitation for these adepts to stay in our solar system. But they do that out of the law of sacrifice. Their work is concerned with the system as the center, as a center in the body of that existence who vitalizes the logos of our own system. So the work of these, their work, the work of solar adepts, is concerned with the system, our solar system, as a center in the body of a certain existence who vitalizes the logos of our own system. And I think that's a cosmic logos. I oftentimes turn to page 293. Oh, why do I always do that? Okay, get rid of that. And, okay, so it's cosmic fire. Where are we here? Yes, cosmic fire. And 293. And we see that immediately above our solar logos is a being called a cosmic logos that has 7 solar systems. And beyond that being is something called the unknown, but I would like to call it the one about whom naught may be said, who has for chakras 7 constellations. So anyway, these solar adepts, they work with the cosmic logos, the being just above our solar logos, who has solar logoi as his chakras. It might be of value here to list the 7 cosmic paths as follows. Remembering now that 35 years later, when the book finally came out, actually it was written more like 20-something years later, 9 paths were given, not 7. The path of Earth's service may be the most limiting of all paths at first. And you can't just choose to be on that. Sanat Kumara has to need you. So in a way, he taps you if you're needed on that path. The path of magnetic work, path 2. The path of the planetary logos, path 3. The path to Sirius, path 4, which is the major path for the majority of human beings. The ray path, path 5. The path of the solar logos, presumably our solar logos, path 6, and the path of absolute sonship, path 7. What the names of the other 2 paths may be, we are not given. It must be borne in mind, and no confusion of thought must be permitted, that these terms are the generic names given in the mystic parlance of the Lodge of Masters to the 7 methods of work, of endeavor, and of aspiration. Even there, see, even Shohans have aspiration. It's not something we just outgrow when we are transcending the emotional body. They too have aspiration. So 7 methods of work are here involved, 7 methods of endeavor and of aspiration, whereby the perfected sons of Earth's humanity, namely Masters and Shohans, pass on to specific cosmic paths or streams of energy, making in their totality one great cosmic way leading to the hub of the great wheel, which is the center of the one about whom naught may be said. So this gives a wonderful incentive to people knowing the direction that they can take. The 7 paths at a certain stage, which may not be defined, become 4 paths, owing to the fact that our solar system is one of the 4th order. This merging is effected in the following way. Well, the initiates of path 1 fight their way onto path 6. What was path 6 again? The path of the solar god. So then path 1 disappears in that sense. The initiates upon path 2 alchemize themselves onto path 7. Path 2 was magnetic work, and path 7 is absolute sonship. So path 2 disappears. The initiates upon path 3, through piercing the veil, find themselves upon path 5, and that means that the path of the planetary logos becomes the path, the ray path. So therefore there are 4 remaining. Only 4 paths then remain. This leaves path 4 to be accounted for upon this path pass all those who, through devotion and activity combined, achieve the goal, but who lack as yet the full development of the monastic principle. Now, you know what's really interesting? He tells us, in a way, later, that Master Jesus lacks the full development of the monastic principle. He also tells us that Master Serapis lacks the full development of the monastic principles, because these 4th ray, 6th ray monads, Master Serapis on the 4th ray, Master Jesus on the 6th ray, are taking path 4. They are going to Sirius, and eventually the Christ will go there too. You go to Sirius for a very big development of Manas. So that's why I'm saying, not all human beings, however, the bulk will go toward Path 4 and Sirius. This being the solar system of love wisdom, or of astral Buddhic development, the 4 paths includes the larger number, the 4th path includes the larger number of the sons of men. Here he says larger number, elsewhere he says bulk. Both are said. Larger number and bulk. In the hierarchy of our planet, the lords of compassion are numerically greater than the masters of the wisdom. Now, had you thought about that? There are some masters of the wisdom who are called lords of compassion. They are masters, but they're called lords of compassion, and they're particularly developed along the astral Buddhic line and not so much along the mental line. The former, lords of compassion, must therefore all pass to the sun Sirius, there to undergo a tremendous monastic stimulation. For Sirius is the emanating source of Manas, which is makes me think of it as a 5th ray soul. My goodness. There the mystic must go and become what is called a spark of Mahatic electricity. Now remember, we read a lot about Mahat, didn't we? And how if you follow just the line of Mahat, you pretty well become a member of the Black Lodge. But obviously these people are trained along the line of love and mysticism, and they need this Mahat to balance their training. So, how many human beings are there in our solar system? 60 billion, something like that. And 140 billion self-conscious Deva monads. So we're not concerned about what the Devas do here. But of the 60 billion in our solar system, the majority will be going towards Sirius. And on our planet, however many billion there may be of our human monads on our planet, the majority, the greater number, the larger number, will go towards Sirius. So, sometimes when you're out at night and you're looking at Sirius, a brilliant star, 8 light years away and very beautiful, you can visualize that there is a path or a stream of energy which is leading by various methods to that star. DK says it's so far away. Well, yes, it is so far away. It's 8 light years, you know how many miles a light year is. On the other hand, it's one of the closest of the stars, the second closest star, with Alpha Centauri being the closest. Yes. Most of humanity goes to Sirius, most. Well, if they have already a big training in Manas, they don't need to go to Sirius. Well, we will have to read about the paths to see what they do. They will, there's some very amazing discussion about what the people on these other paths do. On the path of Earth service, we've been taught a lot already. The members of the hierarchy now are pretty much on the path of Earth service, and all of the books are about that. But he does add information on the 6 other paths, and we can see what they do as we read it. Okay. Who are they? No, not necessarily very few. He says the bulk, but when you have a bulk or the larger number, you still might have some billions of monads that are going to other paths because the numbers are so large already. The bulk means more than 50%? Sure. Yeah, I think so. But if there are 60 billion, more than 50% could be 25 billion, you know. It's just the majority, isn't it? And of course, we don't know these numbers. We are not given these numbers. But there are people that are going to be trained along various lines, and they will take these various paths. And it will take a long time for these paths to be trodden. Matter of fact, think about Sirius. You tread the path to Sirius. You probably won't come back until the next solar system, which is trillions of years from now. And then you will, because on Sirius, you will be trained to be a solar angel. And then you'll come back into the third solar system and take care of the humanity of that period. So many years are involved. He doesn't give us the details, he just gives us the trend. He only tells us that there are three forms of life, which are reflected in the 3 degrees of the Blue Lodge Masonry. Masonry is a reflection of life on Sirius. He also tells us that Sirius has conquered what our solar logos has yet to conquer. He's a sacred solar logos, and no evil as we understand it exists on Sirius. But other than that, you know, occasionally saying that there are Lepika lords on Sirius and various lords of karma and the prototype of our hierarchy and so forth, he doesn't enlarge. Probably he's not in a position to enlarge, as he himself is still on the path of Earth service and has not taken any of those other paths yet. It's going to be crowded. Well, Sirius is 33 times bigger than our sun. So I believe that Venus is the stopping place for training. Yes. Yes. Well, don't worry about it. You know, it'll be interesting, won't it? Remember that as a being, we are simply a point, and points have no dimension at all. So there's room for plenty of points, I think. Okay. These 7 paths are not concerned with the nature or balancing of the pairs of opposites, usually considered soul and personality, or spirit and matter. They are concerned only with unity, and that which utilizes the pairs of opposites as factors in the production of light. So it's not about conflict and choice once you're on the path. They deal with that unknown quantity which is responsible for the pairs of opposites. They deal with the one which divides into the opposites. Therefore, they are primarily concerned with that which lies outside the manifested forms, with the true abstraction or the absolute. Well, let's just say, you know, eventually beyond the cosmic physical plane. These are just words that DK is giving us here, and we have to see if we can have them make sense for us. So they are primarily concerned with that which lies outside the manifested forms. Where does manifestation occur? Okay. Occurs on the cosmic physical plane. None of these paths ends on the cosmic physical plane. They all minimally end on the cosmic astral plane and beyond. So paths remove us from substantial living on the cosmic physical plane. Of course, just think about it. We're not yet even soul-infused personalities, nor are we triadally expressing individuals like masters are, nor are we Chohans, who are monads. So we're talking about many steps that lie ahead of us as we think about treading these paths. Spirit and matter are never dissociated during manifestation. They are the duality lying back of all that is objective. Yet some factor is responsible for them. That which is neither spirit nor matter, that which will be regarded as non-existent by anyone except the initiate. And this is the true substratum, or an absolute. Absolute. Spirit and matter are dualities, but there is something which is beyond duality, and which is unity. So anyways, the paths concern unity. At the third initiation, some glimmering light upon this abstraction, that's what it is, it's an abstraction, is sensed by the initiate, and by the time the fifth initiation is reached, enough is apprehended by him to enable him to set forth with ardor in search of its secrets. So what lies behind spirit and matter? A great search is made. There's a unified thing called spirit matter in a way. Sometimes you see that in the maps, something which is the union of both spirit and matter, and therefore different specifically from either one of them, the origin of both spirit and matter. And yeah, yes, sometimes. No. So we just have to take it as it is. The spirit is the positive element. Matter is the receptive element, and there's something underlying them of which these opposites are an expression. So anyway, in other words, unity and oneness beyond the pairs of opposites characterize these paths. Now you might say, well, what in the world are we doing studying these paths when we can hardly take the preliminary steps? But there's some incentive that's given here, If you can see far enough into the future, it gives you the courage and the will to follow this. Which life which pervades them all. Yeah. Here, let's look at Blavatsky's quote. Yeah. Life. Okay, let's see if we can find this. I think it's many places. Matter is the vehicle for the manifestation of soul on this plane of existence, and soul is the vehicle on the higher plane for the manifestation of spirit, and these three are a trinity synthesized by life which pervades them all. So I think you're right. If we wanted to call this factor, which is beyond spirit and matter, by the term life, we might do worse than do that. Okay, that's Discipleship in the New Age, Volume 2, 266. Spirit is the positive identity. It's a perspective. It's a point of view. It's more than will. It's an identity. It is the acting, impressive, masculine aspect of life. and matter is the receptive feminine aspect of life, and life is fusing both spirit and matter, and is the one that gives, that out of which emerge the two. Anyway, Blavatsky comes maybe closest to giving us some idea that fits with what he's saying here. Path 1, the path of earth service. Maybe the most humble of the paths, but yes. The picoblowers, yes. Yes, I believe that Sirius is an interim position which can give access to other and higher paths. Yeah, it's kind of a middle position from which you can issue on to other paths. Okay. No, not, maybe not. Maybe some are finished, but not all. And who knows with those 9 paths. Well, anyway, it all meets in the one about whom naught may be said. And we can be happy about that. In that day be with us, and the point of consummation when all paths which are one path come together, and that's just the beginning. Because the Pleiades is only 410 light years away. It's just a drop in the bucket and extremely peripheral to a future movement towards the center. We're all moving towards the center. The center of what? Well, not just the center of the galaxy. The galaxy itself is peripheral to something else. But somewhere, maybe I shouldn't use the word where at all, there is a center. And with the great in-breath, all lives are drawn to the center. You know, it's such a huge process. It just almost quiets you down as you begin to realize what's involved in treading these kinds of paths. See, most paths that we tread now are ray paths, but these paths out of the solar system are not ray paths. Those on all kinds of rays can tread them, but there may be certain tendencies for those on certain monadic rays to tread one kind of path or another more than another, but still anyone on any ray can tread any path. But up till that time, we are going along our own ray line towards our ashram in the hierarchy. Well, we won't have obviously the vehicle of the fourth kingdom of nature. We would be monads. We would tread those paths or move along those energy streams as monadic points. Whether we will have some kind of auric vehicle and so forth, I couldn't say. But one thing that we won't have is an auric vehicle made of 6th subplane stuff, because we will have gone beyond the cosmic physical plane. And the present monadic vehicle is made of material of the 2nd plane of the cosmic physical plane. So, you know, when you look at yourself in the mirror, so to speak, and you think that's you, well, the sense of being you will be preserved. But the vehicle through which this you manifests can be very, very different from anything we might suspect. And maybe, who knows, I mean, I think these paths can be trodden by those who originate on different planets altogether. And probably on the different planets, they have a certain form which is very different from ours, but they will drop those forms too. And and the vehicles will be much more subtle. Who even knows what it means to tread a path? I mean, are distances involved? Are like 8 light years, is that meaningful? Or are we on such uh, inward dimensions that we're just go instantaneously towards an objective and are admitted to certain classes where we learn certain kinds of things? But anyway, Venus is first. Jupiter is first. Other planets are first before we get out of the solar system. When we leave the Earth, we aren't going to just jump towards a constellation. We have other planetary stops to make. And whatever vehicle we have will be quite okay at that time. We may not recognize ourselves if we think of ourselves as we are right now, but it will be suitable. I mean, even on Sirius, great beings have vehicles of some time. Sirius itself is a vehicle. It's a vehicle of light and radiance. And probably more and more we will have those bodies of light as our vehicles. Sometimes we're told in Shambhala that the lives there are called the lights who carry out the will of God in Shambhala. So they're like spheres of light. So, you've sometimes probably seen those crop circles, these little points of light appear, and they circumambulate the field, and then the crop circle appears. They are beings. They just simply appear as points or spheres of light. Everything in the universe tends to approximate a sphere, and so we are the same. We have a 5-fold form at the present time, but that's just a limitation. Eventually, we will be spheres, and we'll roll around. and which won't be so different, because in the early days, if Blavatsky is to be believed, the form of early unindividualized man was spherical. Huge balls of beings, and they basically move from place to place, rolling. So, and eventually, rolling. The thing about the Secret Doctrine is that with such a book, truth is stranger than fiction. When people think of the Secret Doctrine, they say, oh, that's just fantasy, that's just imagination. But just imagine what the masters face when they try to convey to humanity what's really going on, what has gone on over millions of years. What happened with these false creative attempts where monstrous results were affected by unintelligent combinations, like goats with the head of a fish, or fish with the legs of a goat, like that kind of thing. Things were put together in a unintelligent manner, and the solar angels had to come along and say, we will dry them. Namely, they applied the fire and killed all those forms, because that was an early attempt to create man, which was not guided by solar angelic intelligence. So, if we read the Secret Doctrine, we just, our eyes get wide. Things are quite amazing. We just live on the slightest little film of history, the slightest little rind of history. And there's this deep, like a tree with its rings. We're just on the very, very outer ring of a huge tree, and the farther you go back in towards the center, more and more strange things happen. But when the masters do appear and show us some of the extraordinary images of the past, the human mind will be open to these things, and the religions over which we fight at the present time will all be dismissed because they have outlived their usefulness. Judaism, Islam, Christianity as presently constituted, just all will go. They've all outlived their usefulness, and a new scientific mode of approach to divinity will be ours. And meanwhile, we're studying that, and we have to hold the continuity so that can happen. Even the little work we do with our full moon meditations is a step in that direction, holding before the public the understanding that this is the way, through invocation and evocation, to approach divinity, a more scientific method. So anyway, you know, amazing things lie ahead. As DK often says, the beauty and the wonder of the plan. And we just have to get through this difficult stage where we are passing and we're quite blind to, you know, to the implications of what must happen. We're passing through a period of great blindness, but the light will come. Anyway, we'll have a chance maybe to read a couple of things. Today I'm somehow, you know, more aware of the fact that the chart says 6 o'clock for dinner. Well, you know, although we've always been able to come in a little later and let the patients eat first, which is 2 patients. All right, that'll take a half hour. Yeah, yeah. Well, does it in your room too that way? I have to check, and I don't want to say the wrong thing, but I think it is. Path of Earth Service. The nature of the spiritual force which animates the group of our peculiar planetary initiates will become apparent if the methods and purposes of their work are studied from the standpoint of subjective energy and not so specifically of the material form. You know, we think so much in terms of form, and energy is a different thing. So changing our focus. So what is the spiritual force which animates the group of our peculiar planetary initiates? This point of view can be gleaned most easily from a consideration of the animating impulse lying behind all world groups which are particularly consecrated to the upliftment of the race. So this subjective point of view can be understood if we think about what lies behind these world groups which are trying to bring upliftment, this subjective point of view. It will, okay, this will necessarily include all political, religious, scientific, and metaphysical organizations. It will be found that each and all are definitely related and have a point of at one-ment with certain numerous occult bodies, which are usually unknown to the affiliated groups. These are the inner groups behind the outer bodies, which are usually unknown to the affiliated group responsible for the vitalization of the principal units in any of these organizations doing this pioneer work. So we're looking for something subjective which is going to explain the spiritual energy which is behind the path of Earth service. This first path is the one that keeps a man linked to the hierarchy, which is pledged to the service of our planetary scheme. And who knows for how long, maybe thousands of years, until Sanat Kumara says, move on, you know. It comprises those who work under the Lord of the world, in the 7 groups into which our masters of wisdom are divided. So when we're talking about the hierarchy and its 7 ashrams, the hierarchy and its 7 ashrams, okay, we'll do it this way. We're talking about the path of Earth service. Not so many masters follow this path as some of the others, and only enough are permitted to do so to carry on our planetary evolution satisfactorily. So it's just, it's a special sacrifice, and more than that, you have to be needed. And Sanat Kumara is the one who determines whether we are needed. More is known about this path than about any of the others. The whole teaching is about it. And more will continuously be found out as members of our humanity fit themselves to contact the brothers of the hierarchy. More will continuously be found out as members of our humanity fit themselves to contact the brothers of the hierarchy. Their field of employ, their method of work, will eventually become exoteric. And as the 7 groups are recognized and known, let's just call it the 7 ashrams, schools of development for the filling of posts in these groups will be the logical sequence. Well, we're already interested in what's going on in the ashrams, in the 49 ashrams to be, what their jobs are, 7 major ashrams, and eventually 2 sub 1, 2 sub 2, 2 sub 3, 2 sub 4, and so forth, eventually 49 of them existing. So the method of participating and being trained will become exoteric. The adepts who stay upon this path are distinguished by a dual attribute, which is their guarantee of attainment along this line of spiritual endeavor. Remember, these adepts fight their way onto the 6th path. So, there is a compensation here, because the ones who stay on the path of earth service eventually step onto the path of the solar logoi. And I think that's adequate compensation. They are animated by wise compassion. That's the characteristic. These words should be carefully studied, for they hold the clue to the nature of this first path. Wise compassion, not just unwise, loving compassion, which does not really understand the details of the situation and how people have to be sometimes not given everything. They have to go through hard times. Wisdom is here, wise compassion, which is a reflection, in a way, of love, wisdom. I'm sorry. These words should be carefully studied, for they hold the clue to the nature of the first path. The adepts who choose this path are called esoterically beneficent dragons, or lesser dragons of wisdom. A planetary logos is a dragon of wisdom, and these initiates and adepts are the lesser dragons, but they are wise. And what's interesting is that when you look at it, the green dragon is found to be a symbol of this first path. We will see how that works out. And so Libra is very important too, because the green dragon is holding the scales in his mouth and so forth. Okay, so the adepts who choose this path are esoterically called beneficent dragons, the blessing dragons, the givers of good, dragons who give the good, who bestow the good. And the energy with which they work and the stream of living force upon which they are found emanates from the constellation of the dragon, working through the zodiacal sign Libra. Now, that constellation of the dragon has a lot of interesting energy connected with it. Not just Kundalini, not just cosmic Kundalini along the 7th ray. It has Buddhi connected with it. It's right up at the top, right around Polaris. It circles around Polaris between the Great Bear and the Little Bear. So you just look up in that direction and you'll see this long constellation, which is the dragon. Now, sometimes we say, okay, the Pleiades are the source of cosmic Buddhi, but the dragon gives the Pleiades the cosmic Buddhi. So the dragon is extremely potent in terms of this Buddhic energy. And that almost seemed a little bit out of proportion to me, because the Pleiades in a way are the hub. But when we say the Pleiades are the hub, I don't think we mean just the 7 or 9 Pleiades we're talking about. I think we mean the whole thing, where there may be 1,000 Pleiades. Okay, this special spiritual energy produces in all those groups which come under its direct influence, and this is very important, a profound faculty for identification. And this is, of course, you think about the Christ immediately, who is in a way foremost among those who tread this earth path of earth service. A profound faculty for identification, which means that you do not see any form of separateness between yourself and another. This identification does not concern form nor the soul, but only the spiritual point of positive life, which in the human unit we call the jewel in the lotus, and I think we could carry it even further to talk about the monadic jewel. It must be remembered in this context that there is a jewel at the heart of every atom. What an interesting piece of information. A jewel at the heart of every atom. Every jewel has 7 facets, even though, as we studied recently, it has 8 radiations, those 7 facets. Every jewel has 7 facets, which are the 7 doorways to the 7 paths. So the jewel in the lotus offers us 7 doorways to the 7 cosmic paths. Say it again. Yes, but he only says there are 9, and he does not tell you a thing about them, except that they offer you a greater diversity of choice. Okay. An onward. I think that they are still higher. Yes. And probably little would be gained by talking about the nature of those more advanced paths, because you know there would be people immediately who said, oh yes, I'm on path 8 and 9. No question about it. You know, they would somehow know, not being soul infused, not having contact with the spirit, that they would be on path 8 and 9. Okay, so that's very interesting. There's so much occultism offered in this kind of information. It's just extraordinary. The beneficent dragons are distinguished by their luminosity. And it is this basic quality which lies behind the injunction given by all spiritual teachers to their pupils in the words, "Let your light shine forth," which is all about the pineal gland and the ethers around it and the light in the head and the radiation and the aura. It's all about Vulcan too, because Vulcan is very useful in getting matter into such a condition that the light can shine forth. When the adept enters through the luminous door, the adept is already the master, and it could even be the 6th degree master, adept or Chohan. When the adept enters through the luminous door, he has before him 4 very peculiar and esoteric identifications. One wonders about the 4 gates to Shambhala. This entrance takes place after he has passed the fifth initiation and has demonstrated his fitness so to do through a long period of service in connection with planetary evolution. So like I say, if you're a master, there's no choice for you immediately. You have to serve on the planet for a long time. Now, these identifications eventually bring about within the jewel, but of course, look, do you notice the contradiction here? What happens to the jewel in the lotus after the fourth initiation? It's gone. So the jewel we have to be talking about is the monadic jewel, which again has 7 facets. Because if we talk about the jewel in the lotus, it's part of the causal body unless it's been retracted up into the monad itself. They bring about within the jewel, which is essentially the true spiritual unit. The true spiritual unit, that's the monad. The jewel is the true spiritual unit, right? That is the monad. A momentous happening, and are undergone within the monadic consciousness after the transcendence of the atmic sheath. Whoa. This is worth, what page are we on here? 1246. I want to put this in 1246, TCF 1246. This is about the jewel is the monad. Monad, and is 7-faceted. Okay. The jewel is the monad, okay? Let's see. That's Doc X. I think I'm going to have to do it differently. Every once in a while, when you run into these things, you can lose them later, and then you won't know what you're talking about or where to go. So it's better to take them out quickly and make them a part of what is supposed to. I've somehow lost my esoteric what is it? My AAB extract shortcut. Some other folder ate it up, I'm sure. So esoteric astrology, here we go, document transfer, and I'm going to make life easy for myself here. AAB extracts, and we'll make a shortcut, create a shortcut somewhere. Here it is. Oh, there's enough of them, aren't there? And we will bring it into this one. Okay. Very good. AB extract shortcut jewel is the monad and is 7-faceted. See, that the whole thing is, which jewel is he talking about? The jewel in the lotus disappears with the destruction of the causal body, and yet he's talking about what a master does. Master is long beyond that. So we have to infer that it is, in fact, the monad itself. Okay, these so 4 special identifications face this master, and it reminds you of the 4 gates to Shambhala. These identifications eventually bring about the jewel, within the jewel, which is essentially the true spiritual unit. What is that? Certainly the monad. A momentous happening, and are undergone within the monadic consciousness after the transcendence of the atmic sheath, and that, okay, transcendence of the atmic sheath, and that cannot happen until after the 5th degree. You cannot transcend the atmic sheath until after the 5th degree. These 4 identifications are connected with the fourfold lotus of the solar logos, or with his 12-petaled heart center. That's quite in other words, it looks like identification with different circles of petals in the heart center of the solar logos. This lotus is sometimes called the heart of the sun, sometimes. But sometimes the heart of the sun is the soul body of the solar logos, right? So this, wow, it's been a long time since I've read this, but the heart center of the solar logos, sometimes called the heart of the sun, and concerns the subjective sun. It is not, however, possible to say more along this line. These four identifications are only undergone upon this particular path, and are each preceded by 3 lesser identifications, which make a total of 12 identifications. It gets most specific, corresponding to the 12-petaled lotus. So somehow mastering the heart center of the solar logos in all its 12 petals. It will be noted by the accurate student, who is that we are now discontinuing the use of the word initiation, which has to do specifically with consciousness, and therefore with duality, and are utilizing a word which connotes synthesis, though very inadequately. What is that word? That's the word. Identifications is the word of what we experience on this path. Now, obviously, this is a big stretch. We're not using, here's how it goes. Leo, concentration. Virgo, meditation. Libra, contemplation. Scorpio, illumination. Sagittarius, inspiration. Capricorn, initiation. Pisces, identification. So identification is beyond initiation. It's not in the realm of consciousness. It's in the realm of unity. Let's see. Oh, we're good. We're almost finished with this one. The energy which is manipulated sorry. A little water will surely help. It's hard to talk and cough at the same time. The energy which is manipulated in the process of these identifications is largely that pouring through the 6th hierarchy. Now, what does that mean? 6 from below, probably, which is the origin of the monads. You know, if we look at the creative hierarchy group, this is probably it. The 6th hierarchy, which is monadic group. I don't see how it could be down here among the lunar lords. I don't think that would make sense. Okay. Which has an esoteric relation to the 6th path, onto which the initiates of path 1 have eventually to fight their way. Why fight? Fight their way. Fight their way onto the path of the solar logoi. Yes, but on the other hand, we are much better equipped by that time to handle such things. Yes, I think you could fail in time. You could fail in time, but not ultimately, probably. Well, you know, somewhere Master Hilarion says that it's possible to fall back or fail even on the highest step. So it's no piece of cake at any point. We still have to, galaxies collide, The form through which the adept must work in order to demonstrate his control of the energy concerned may not here be given. So there's the vehicle. What's the vehicle? What do we look like? How are we expressing? He won't give it. It can only be stated that luminosity is gained upon the battleground through a fight with the dragon. Luminosity is gained upon the battleground through a fight with the dragon. And remember, the dragon is green, which means he came from the previous solar system. So this is not the blue dragon, this is a green dragon. So we have to fight this green dragon and render it luminous, just the way the Christ and certain beings on our planet have developed this tremendous light power. The following summation may be suggestive, and he totals it all up for us. I think what I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to switch over to the rays and the initiations. Not now. So that we get this whole thing together, what he says, because it's amazing what he added to it 20 years later. It was thought when he gave this that that's all I can ever give. And things changed in such a way that in the 1940s he gave a lot more. The path of earth service, wise compassion. The source, the constellation of the dragon, via Libra. The method, 12 cosmic identifications in our solar system related to the heart of the sun, or 12-petaled heart center of the solar logos. The hierarchy involved is the 6th, which is called the burning suns of desire. The symbol, a green dragon issuing from the center of a blazing sun, probably the previous solar system. Behind the sun and overtopping it can be seen 2 pillars on either side of a closed door. So watch out for Gemini. Something may be Geminian and coming. Some Geminian possibility is here indicated. Quality gained, luminosity. Yes. Did I say that Saturn was delivering booty? What I said was that the path of karma uses third-ray calculations, imposes first-ray methods, and ends by producing right relations, which could be related to booty. Saturn per se doesn't really deliver booty, but it sets up the conditions under which booty can thrive. And yes, cosmic booty comes from the Pleiades, but even more so from the constellation of the dragon. And that must mean it is a tremendous constellation. Another dragon. There's a lot of dragons, including lesser dragons. All of us are trying to become a lesser dragon. So this stuff is fun to read because it just, it widens out your conception of what may be tremendously. Yes. It's interesting that it's green? Yes, it has to do with the third aspect, I think. The dragon issues from a previous sun, and we have somehow to overcome that and render matter luminous. Of course, we can speculate about this. We don't know for sure. The final interpretation is not yet given. But if there's a green dragon, it's related to the third ray. If it's a blue dragon, it's related to the second ray. And maybe in China there are red dragons too, I'm sure. There's a first ray country and they kind of like dragons and the color red. Okay, so tomorrow I'll go on into the rays and the initiations for Path 1, which is really amazing stuff. So what stuck for day 3? I know it's heavy going, but if we don't do it, well, then we just won't do it. That's all. So it's sometimes better to do something difficult than not to do it. Okay. Okay, that's nice. Hold on. Let me just catch this for just 1 second here. TCF 10. Okay, beauty and the wonder of the plan. Yes, that's a wonderful quotation. I don't know if it's wonder in the beauty or beauty in the wonder, but that's the idea. The beauty and the wonder of the plan. Apparently some marvelous things are lying ahead if we could just somehow imagine that and work towards it. Okay, what else? Path of aspiration and the path of probation coming later. In other words, many people aspire, but they aren't willing to be tested. On the path of probation, you are willing to be tested. I wonder if it's going to continue raining for day after day. Well, you know, we usually have such beautiful sort of end of May, beginning of June here, and the gods are, you know, they're not giving that to us at the moment. Yes. Yes, you'd want to think about other things and relax, and now all you can do is just sit here and endure this. You just sit here. Okay. Those who have been informed by the solar angel, and some have not. In the they can participate in the law, law, let's see, law of the schools, law of the SCH, law of the schools. Yes, that's right. Otherwise, it's just way beyond the possibility, way beyond their possibilities. But everybody gets a chance in time, you know. Maybe if it looks like we have unique chances at this time, it's only because we've passed through many periods when those chances were not available to us in earlier days. Okay, what else? Yes, those on the path of Sirius, on what? Those on the fourth path will return as solar angels in the next solar system, cultivating on a higher turn of the spiral those who are men at that time. Everything moves up, you know. 359, who knows? We might even have 9 planes. It's difficult to say. Yes, I mean 5, 7, 9, those are the numbers of the 3 solar systems sequentially. Okay, what else? Which planets rule it? Venus, Jupiter, and Neptune rule initiation 2. Yes, and remember, add Mars, Pluto, and Vulcan. Because some of these planets are very important for getting rid of glamour at the time of the second initiation. Yes, Ella. Yeah, Vulcan goes to the depths of matter. That's on page 70 of astrology. Vulcan to the depths of matter, and Pluto drags to the surface that which is in the depths and destroys it. So the two glyphs, the two arrows, the glyphs of Vulcan and Pluto give us that example. But of course, is that really the glyph of Vulcan? But it's one we've decided to use. Glyphs of Vulcan and Pluto give us the idea. Okay, what else? Okay, let's see if I want to understand what you just said. Uranus is imposing the archetype. Uranus is imposing the archetype by often violent means. And Jupiter gives lots of room to grow it. Jupiter gives the room an opportunity to grow the archetype in the lower world. Both are planets of magic. Both. They are magicians. Notice how magic is given both in Uranus and Jupiter. Both are planets of magic. Although I do think that Jupiter is more the lord of ceremonial magic, and Vulcan has Uranus has a rather different approach to it. There's often Uranian people who just can't stand ritual. I'm not saying all, but many do. They're very, very mental, and they're interested in the scientific formulas, but they don't want to go through the ceremonialism that Jupiter loves. So he is the priest, the suppliant, and he is the lord of ceremonial magic. Jupiter, through his seventh ray. Oh, goodness, what is this? Jupiter is the lord of ceremonial magic. Okay. Anything else? I know we covered a lot of ground today, actually. Let's see, what did we do in the morning? The what? The schools. Law of the schools. That's it. Law of the schools. And all schools except for the Saturn school and the Pluto school. Saturn and Pluto schools not given. But then Pluto was not even discovered at the time that was. Saturn is withheld, but obvious enough in our lives, and presumed to be part of the karmic school. I mean, that is the great teacher. I'll tell you what, let's see, we if we're going to go when we usually go, which seems a little early to me, I can ask some of the members of the group here if they would like to say anything, and I will do that. Webinarians, if you have anything you would like to say about, or anything that may have struck you as interesting, please raise your hand, and I will look for your raised hand and activate your microphone. So is there anybody here who would like to say something? I apologize if some of my coughing has been a little disruptive. It's not been pleasant. We have here We have our group includes Andrew from Melbourne, Australia, Asha from the U.S., Bio from Canada, Brett from California, Celeste from New York, Donna, I think, from North Carolina, Elena from Slovakia, Eva, and there is, okay, Francis. I'm going to unmute you. Hey, Francis, there you are. You can speak. Are you there? I guess you have to make sure you can be heard. Okay, Francis, you can speak. Are you there? Well, you've raised your hand. And my sorry. The microphone. Okay, here actually Tuya is giving us something that might be good. Francis, can we hear you? Can we hear you? Okay, we'll give it a try a little later. Is there anybody who would like to raise your hand to add something, say something, comment on something? Because, you know, our group is going to escape in just 3 minutes towards the dinner table. Okay, Elena. Elena maybe will say something. Elena, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, Elena, we can really hear you. So go ahead. What would you
Amazing.
What would you like to say?
Okay, just what is first fresh in my mind is about the green dragon.
Okay, green dragon. Okay.
It just occurred to me the significance of that green dragon in relation to the third ray, which is also, you know, a synthesizing ray through which we need to go further up. And the third ray is also related to a veil.
To a veil.
Now, a veil. And I see this green dragon still as a veil in relation to the last solar system, which we must fight before the last, you know, veil or separation or the pull of the third aspect related to the last solar system will go before, you know, we enter the higher path.
Okay, very good. Enter the higher part. Yes, I think, you know, it will be interesting to see what he says in the arrays and the initiations if he elaborates on that somewhat. But I do think we have to penetrate a veil.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
And I have another, yeah.
Bye-bye. No, Gisela was leaving, you know. Yes, Elena, yes.
I have another point. I am, you know, I'm interested about the Buddhic vehicle.
Okay.
I feel that the organization of the Buddhic vehicle starts at the second initiation. You know, the organization of it.
Okay.
But now the sailed boat portrayed over the heart in, you know, the what the initiate is wearing, could the, you know, the heart, it's automatically connect my understanding, how I am looking at it, the second and fourth initiation, where at the fourth initiation it's the heart.
Correct.
So it is concerned with the heart. So I see the final organization. I might be wrong in this. I'm just bringing my understanding of it at the moment.
Okay.
That if the organization of the Buddhic vehicle starts at the second initiation, could be the vehicle finally organized at the fourth?
Well, it would seem important for it to organize at the fourth, since one will be, in a sense, leaving the vehicle one has focused within, and will need a triadal vehicle. So I think you have a basis for what you are saying. I do have some quotations which I can't find right now, but they do point to the coherence, or how did he say it, whether it's organization or coherence of the Buddhic vehicle following the third initiation.
Yes.
But perhaps
I mean,
bringing
yes,
it to its, yes,
we
bringing it
have to
to its fullness, I agree. The fourth initiation would be a good time for that to happen. Sorry.
Now, I have one more point, but I don't want to take too much time. Maybe somebody else would want to contribute.
Let's see if there's anybody else that can speak there for a moment, because we're going to have to break very soon.
Yes.
But thank you for those two ideas, Elena. Francis, are you back? Can you speak yet? He's coming from Santa Fe, New Mexico. But maybe it's not going to be possible. Sometimes it's a question of how... Oh, Francis, are you there? Yes, I can. Good. Yes.
Oh, great. I'm just figuring out the technology here on this particular computer. I haven't used it for this.
Okay.
Anyway, I thought it was interesting that the first path leads to the sixth path, and I noted that there's 4 doors into Shambhala.
Yes.
And then you move on to the 4 petals of the Solar Logos, and then to the 12, and that seems naturally preparatory for the 6th path, which is, of course, the path of the Solar Logos itself.
Okay, that's a good point. Naturally preparatory. Naturally preparatory for the 6th path of the Solar Logos. So what does he have? It's a 12-petal lotus. It looks like there are 4 tiers of petals, and it looks like there are one of them. Let's see, how does it go? That seems to be the main one, to which 3 are subsidiary. Or let's see, but that would be 16. That doesn't seem correct.
Well, he starts with the 4 petals, and he talks about the 4 and the 12. And my point is, I'm wondering if there's a relation between the 4 petals of the Solar Logos and the 4 doors into Shambhala, or what's called often like in secret doctrine, is called the mystic square, as part of the essential Adi plane. And it seems to be those 4 doors seem to be a natural. I mean, if there's any first-ray aspect in our solar system, of course, it's going to be connected with the Solar Logos. And it seems that those 4 doors into Shambhala would be connected to those initial 4 petals. It's interesting. It's a kind of root chakra.
Yeah, there's a kind of root chakra. Yes, it is a kind of a root chakra. And then he deals with it as a heart chakra afterwards, right? He deals with a 12-petaled lotus, but he starts out as 4 initial petals. And then, of course, that could relate to Shambhala. So this is a profound thought. And tell you what, maybe you'd be willing to write a paragraph on that, because I think I'm not writing fast enough or accurately enough to get exactly what you said. But if you would be willing to write a paragraph on it, I will share it with the class tomorrow, if you have time.
Fine, I'll just send it to you
on the email. That'd be great, Francis. I appreciate that. Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to say something? The group will soon be departing the room, but right now they can hear you very well, because Tuya provided a good speaker, and which is much better than the computer speaker, so they can hear what you're saying. Is there anybody else who would like to raise your hand to say anything?
People you are looking this, I think this is a profound thing. What has been puzzled about the earth being the base.
The base of the spine chakra. You think this is related?
I thought about this 4 doors to Shambhala.
Yes.
Everywhere in Buddhist.
4 doors of Shambhala is related to the 4. The earth being a root chakra. Now, you know, we oftentimes think that all root chakras have the number 4 connected with them. And, you know, that's the way it is now. But we're told that it won't be long before the base of the spine chakra has 5 petals, which, you know, I guess it depends on the kind of system in which we find ourselves. But anyway, some profound ideas have been brought forward here. Is there anybody else who would like to say anything particular? In any case, I'm happy that many of you have had a chance to attend today's work. We're into some pretty profound stuff as we're dealing with the cosmic paths. And instead of just dealing with what's in cosmic fire, we will also include what's in the rays and the initiation. So I think we will be exposed to some of the deepest material that is in Master DK's presentation. The only thing we won't do is what he says at the end of Initiation Human and Solar among the 7 cosmic paths. It's really interesting because he writes this primary book for the general public, and then at the end he includes the 7 cosmic paths. So he goes from the very beginning of preparation for initiation all the way to the ultimate goal that lies before any and all of us. So I think he knew that initiation would grab people's attention, and he wanted to give them the sense of the destiny towards which they were headed. Okay, friends, well then I think we will call it a day. I'm happy to see you, Vern and Vadna and Nicholas and Mary Knudsen and Leslie Van and Judy Washington and Johanna and Jeremy, Irmeli, Gary, Francis, Eva, Elena, Dorothy, Donna, Celeste, Brett, Bio, Asha, and Andrew. And we will talk to you, see you tomorrow morning. We begin at 5:40. The thought was just too much for me. We begin at 5:45 Greenwich Mean Time, 7:45 here. So some of you in the United States, you can at least catch the meditation before you go to sleep. And we will continue with this fascinating subject. And we've already kind of committed to doing the stanzas of Xian, of which there are 20 in Cosmic Fire, for our next December meeting. I don't know if we know what we're getting into, but we're going to give it a try anyway. So all of these webinars are recorded and will be available in various ways, including Makara, quite soon. The whole day of some 8 hours is on a 1 gigabyte file, which you can download. It'll probably take an hour to do that, and then you can see the whole, all the video and all of the text. So let's just have the mantra of the new group of world servers. Okay, here it is. Begin with an Om, and with an Om. May the power of the one life pour through the group of all true servers. May the love of the one soul characterize the lives of all who seek to aid the great ones. May I fulfill my part in the one work through self-forgetfulness, harmlessness, and right speech. Okay, thank you, everyone. I know that there have been some heavy moments, but we simply persist. And at the end of it all, you may have entered into areas of this book that you have not fully entered yet.
Thank you, Michael.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, thanks, Michael.
You're welcome.
That the true service gives a new meaning when you transmit over the net.
Yes.
All true service.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. They are all true servers.
If the power be loud through all the servers.
All the one life pour through the group of all true servers.
When the gigabyte flowed.
Yeah.
In abundance.
Day 2, day 3.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, friends, webinar will be over shortly. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you before long.